Disney, I believe this is mostly due to the return of Bob Iger, but they are now going to be releasing movies in China again. Marvel movies are going to be released in China again. Makes perfect sense. Bob Iger was at one point going to be like an ambassador for China under the Biden administration.
I love when communism and mega corporations
come together.
Are just like,
I think there's a word for it.
Wait, so I have a question. Is it more woke to not change your material and keep it out of China, or is it more woke to change your material and sell it to the Chinese Communist Party? Which one? I ask you.
Oh gosh, I know we make jokes about this term late stage capitalism, but could it get more late stage capitalism than this?
I don't think it could.
Personally, I think that at least China has standards for what they will show to the public.
So
we don't.
The idea here is that China is going to allow Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, and Ant-Man Quantumania. Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. I'm not calling it that. Ant-Man Quantumania.
It's not about Ant-Man anymore, though.
No, it's about the Wasp.
That's your mistake.
So this will be the first Marvel movie releases in China since Spider-Man No Way Home. I was looking it up. It was really funny. Shang-Chi did not that well in China.
I was wondering about that.
It didn't even do that well in
You said
in
76
Japan.
million.
I think it was 72 or 76. It wasn't a lot of money for what China offers them. And then think about this. China keeps 75% of that. It's
confusing because we have this idea that, China doesn't want to see Black actors on screen. Like they're discriminatory against Black actors because they didn't go out in as many numbers to see Black Panther. And then what can we expect for Wakanda Forever in that case? But I don't know if that's actually true.
No, I was surprised
because if they didn't go to see Shang-Chi, then maybe they're just not into this genre.
Yeah. I don't know. They seem to be really focused on their own movie, but I did see that their Top Gun movie bombed. Like their Top Gun wannabe movie bombed, and they got cited like bad CGI.
I thought that you said you wanted to watch the Top Gun copycat and review it.
I did.
You would probably unironically like it.
India would make a good Top Gun.
Yeah.
For sure.
But China, not so much.
No. The funny thing about this is it's more than just this, but it's like Disney has this problem right now where they're trying to push out into other markets and they can't seem to get it right, whether it's because of Bob Chapek said, we're not going to change our movies. We're not going to make any edits to them. The question is, how much of Black Panther and how much of Quantumania are they going to have to change? Probably not a whole lot.
But what he means by that is he's talking tough. What he's saying is we're not going to change our movies. They're involved from the get-go. What are you talking about?
Yeah. So it's not that you don't have to change anything if they have if they can leave editorial, you writer notes from the beginning. Anyways, I think they're still smarting over that Epoch Times paper that was in Spider-Man No Way Home.
You mean in Doctor Strange?
Oh, was it? Oh, yes. I'm sorry, Doctor Strange.
Yeah, that was even more puzzling to me because who would plant that? And I thought that they objected to Doctor Strange on the grounds of America Chavez's two gay moms being in the movie.
But there was so little of it. I guess then the idea is would Marvel have made the cut? Marvel's we're not making any cuts whatsoever. So the question is that one scene at the end of Wakanda Forever going to get cut out? That one little scene,
right?
The
representation for
Ghana or
lesbians in Ghana or something like that. I mean, I just hate when a mega corporation like Disney pretends to have principles.
They do not have principles.
You are not the, social justice, the gatekeepers of social justice or of these so-called marginalized groups. You don't care about them at all. You just sprinkle these dog whistles into your movies for points with the Western media, and then more points with the Western media when you make this fake stance we're not gonna edit it out of the movie because we're principled. You don't have morals of any kind.
Imagine a corporation having principles.
It never happened.
Lulz. So the other thing is, I think Avatar, besides Bob Iger coming back, I think the success of Avatar is a big part of this because Avatar 2, The Way of Water, it got an extension in China. meaning
Okay.
like it got an extension past its American movies get 30-day releases in China, then they cut it off. They gave them an extension past the 30 days into the new year. So that movie's doing like not as well as they expected, but it's still making money. And it kind of goes along with that movie. And then Jurassic World Dominion was the other one that made money in China this year. But other than that, it's not like any Disney movies were making money there. It's all their own movies there. They don't need our entertainment anymore. They have their own entertainment.
I can't remember there being anything plausibly objectionable in Jurassic World Dominion or Avatar. It's just like violence, animals, aliens.
Yeah. I don't think there was any. Well, I'm saying
mythical creatures.
They actually, that's not like they take issue with magic sometimes, right? China does.
No,
Or is that Japan?
I don't know. I know China takes issue with like representations of the dead.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So like logos, like what was the game that like
Okay.
removed skull and crossbones from like a game because they didn't want it in the game because it was a representation of something to do with the dead or something.
dead.
It's giving
And
the
the
same
devil.
vibe as like that little schoolboy that bit his Pop-Tart into the shape of a gun
Yeah.
and got in trouble for it.
Yeah.
Well, it's like like anything that has like the Christian devil in it.
Yeah.
Can't be in there. It's they're
I
very,
see.
Yeah, so-
Well, I don't think that Avatar had anything like that. I mean, they addressed death, but they have
no,
more
no,
of
people
a...
can die, but it's like their thing is like people cannot come back from the dead, and it's like okay, I've got to, like, or there can't be spirits of the dead or demons or angels or anything like that.
Well,
other
they
thing-
might have had that in Avatar or the next Avatar because of Kiri's connection
Yeah.
to her ancestors. I think, like,
Yeah, but
I guess
it's
that's
not-
what they were hinting at, but never fleshed
But
out.
I think it's more of a like from the Western perspective, and that's not like
see.
no angels in name or demons in name.
Yeah.
So like they were gonna get away with Mephisto because they're like, oh, he's not the Christian devil. He's a mutant.
Well, thankfully for Avatar, human beings are the devil
Yeah.
in their
Yeah.
universe. There's no devil
Well, there's also
in Avatar
questions,
except
like-
for humanity.
They're going to introduce like more characters into that world there that could challenge that narrative in the next one too.
Okay.
The other thing here that's really funny is Disney's going through more problems because Disney as their own corporate entity, as their own city is coming to an end as well. Because they're going to be adding state administration in Florida, or Ron DeSantis is going to be introducing legislation that's going to
Yeah.
remove the privileges that Reedy Creek has.
He
So-
said Disney will no longer have its own government. Disney will live under the same laws as everybody else. Disney will pay the debts and taxes, and that's exactly what's going to happen.
Is there a year that this stuff bursts for them? Like it does. We talk a lot about the idea of post-profit age for entertainment. Like they don't really need to make money because the message is what's important. What's funny is Tim was talking about that last night, right? Like they believe wholeheartedly, and I think in a lot of cases, like if you're making a product for something and you believe in the message or the values of the people that are doing that it doesn't matter for them, right? Obviously at a much larger scale for a corporation like Disney. But is there a point where the bubble bursts? It's different for a private entity as opposed to a publicly traded company. But I mean, this kind of just proves that they still need the money, otherwise they wouldn't reinitiate these relationships. Or is the idea here that they're choosing China over representation and that will inform the movies going forward?
Yeah, I think you're right.
Do you think
about
that's
that.
possible?
I mean,
Yeah, I think
that's-
that's actually right.
You think that they're like, look, we weighed the pros and cons. Sorry, back of the line.
I honestly don't think that many people believe in the message. The message was a part of and it was, well, not even that. Yes, but it's a destabilizing force. And so this is just the next phase of destabilization.
Yeah. So what do you think so Disney's doing this. What was the other company that was like particularly bad this year? Funny thing is, I don't think any of them were particular. Me and Mary talk about this all the time. We can complain about wokeness all the time. And you could say that about something like Velma, which is beyond woke, which is bad.
Yeah.
But I felt like most of the movies we reviewed this year were just like, if like Mary didn't like them, she just didn't like them, right? It wasn't because it was quote unquote woke. It was just because you thought it was a bad movie. I liked most of the movies that we reviewed this year. I think most of the awful stuff comes from interviews and people being teed up these awful questions from awful journalists who are looking for sound bites. And it doesn't affect... The movies suffer more from bad writing than
Yeah.
they do from ideology.
Well, I think
From
they're
both.
intertwined.
Those
From
problems
both.
are intertwined. Though.
Yeah, Lord of the Rings, or the Rings of Power, I should call it.
That's an example of an extreme example of when it's really, really bad.
Willow is
Yes,
another one.
like but those were Disney, right? And like I was
Correct.
like, but
Well,
TV. No,
one
one's
was, yeah.
Disney. Well, yeah, but I'm saying like they can do that
Yeah.
on TV where it just doesn't make it to another market. Doesn't matter. It's still going to go to the U.S. It's still going to go to all these other markets. Look, I understand that entertainment is full of ideology, but when it comes to the major blockbuster motion pictures, it's not as noticeable as it is on television.
I'm trying to think. I feel like there was one thing I did see.
That was particularly bad.
Yeah, but I still enjoyed it.
I mean,
So
they're boiling the frog. That's what I
Yeah.
think. I think if you, if past you from like a decade ago time traveled to today and watched what is in theaters or streaming right now, you would actually be shocked.
Oh,
But
yeah.
because you're watching it now, you're so desensitized. You have to watch the extreme versions of it, like Velma. Then it doesn't hit you as hard, but it's definitely there, and we're just losing sight of it. And yes, they suffer from bad writing, often more so than than outright wokeness.
Hooray.
But I think ideologues lack creativity. The wokeness is in writers' rooms. When it doesn't show as blatantly as usual, it's still there. It's
think
still
boiling
the
the frog.
cultural water that we drink, and it's like fluoridating our brains.
You're right. Like your original point about the frog. You're right.
That's
like,
perfect analogy.
It is. Yeah, because
Frogs
like,
and fluoride. I'm Alex Jones.
Even
right
back
now.
as far back as 2014, which is what 8 years now, or 9 years now. Jeez. If you released Eternals in 2014, it would have flopped worse than it did.
Totally.
You think so?
Yeah. Oh, way worse. You'd be like, "What is this?"
Yeah.
Like you had first of all, you had to have Guardians of the Galaxy come out to even like open the doors to something like that. And like I like that they branched out, but it is so devoid of substance. Like I wanted to like that movie so bad. I wanted to. Like I was like, I'm ready. I want to see what this person can do.
Well, it was just pretty images on screen with no actual substance behind it.
Right, but it was just to make points. Like every scene, like it doesn't. It's better than The Rings of Power.
Yes.
Right, but it's
Only because it's shorter.
true somehow. But it's mere existence. You're like, I know what you're trying to do. You know.
Well, it's like I watched
But that's
some
one
stuff
big budget movie that
did, but that was 2021, wasn't it? It wasn't 2022. I'm trying to think of what we watched in 2022 that was particularly objectionable.
We
And
actively avoided Strange World, which is
That's
one
true.
of the worst things Disney put out all year.
I guess we liked Glass Onion, but there's definitely social commentary in Glass Onion.
Amsterdam had a
but even then it was fine.
Yeah.
Like it was like so like I don't remember who it was that made a video recently said, do we see it everywhere now because we're so rubbed raw from all of the problems that it's caused? I think that's a fair question to ask yourself and be in check. Is it just bad writing, or is it actually because of hysterical ideology?
Yeah.
Like I was going through it last night. I was like looking at it, look, Better Call Saul did really well at the Critics' Choice Awards and in a bunch of other things. Like a lot of the problems right now are that there's only so many good writers to go around, and those good writers have been writing and producing shows for 20 years. There's just only so many of them. You can't have everything come out be up to that level because they're busy. They're doing other shows.
And if a show has longevity, it keeps the same people. They end up being tied up there. Yeah, that's understandable.
And just the sheer amount of content that's being made between 7 zillion streaming platforms, 5 studios making 10, 15 movies a year, you're just not going to have like 10, 15 movies each studio like release a year. Is that about right? Like how less than that? 10 to 15?
It depends.
Like the idea is like there's just
Some more
so
than others.
much content that a lot of fluff is sticking through. So I think it's fair enough to at least question, like, are we actually seeing wokeness everywhere, or is it just a lot of really bad writing that credits it in the undertone?
Yeah, what you're asking is complex, which is give me concrete examples, but it's not. It's an influence of, it's an unseen influence almost. Like in the worst versions of it, She-Hulk and Velma, it's right there, and you're like, wow, everybody hates it. But it's pushing. It's like what choices are being made, what direction do franchises go?
Yeah,
it's that, and it's more in the industry than it is in the content sometimes, where it's like, oh, what's the #1 thing you've reviewed on Rotten Tomatoes this year? Like it's, you said it was Miss Marvel, right?
Yeah, I mean that was the number one
critics,
critic
right?
review.
What was the number one audience review?
That wasn't
I'd love to know
thing.
that.
Was like
Black Adam will blow my brains out.
Yeah.
It might be.
Everyone
It might
here is
be.
just still mad. You, Dane, everyone's mad about Black Adam but me. Everyone's mad about Black Adam but me.
I'm not mad about Black Adam. I'm just mad about how low our standards have gotten.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
And like I'm seeing one person said like, oh, Cobra Kai and The Terminalist were the only things you can certifiably say are not woke in 2022. I disagree with that.
Yeah.
I think there are more that you can point out than just a couple, actually. But I don't like this thing where we have one basket that says woke and another basket that says
good
non-woke
or good
or good.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not as clean cut as that because this gets sprinkled everywhere. There's nothing that isn't influenced by the times we live in.
Absolutely.
So like when I posted on my Instagram story about having watched Wednesday, and I like posted multiple opinions about it, some criticisms, some praises for it. Like the fact that they had horribly aged words like mansplaining or patriarchy in the show, but other ways that the show did well. Yeah. Someone just replied, well, is it woke or is it not woke?
Yeah.
Like, no, that's not how this works. There are other ways to evaluate a show.
Look,
you also have to define what woke is.
Yes.
And I think
Yeah.
most
and
people,
that's different to everyone.
I don't think it should be. I think it is. To me, there's an objective definition, which is not. So one side would say, oh, well, they say anything that has representation or storylines that follow anybody other than a straight white male is woke. And it's like, no, that's when that is what you have in place of substance. Yeah. When you're like, oh, no, you should watch this because of this reason. No. Give me good and then do those things. There are plenty of movies that I love that I would say are not woke that are starring strong black women. Like plenty of them. Or just strong women in general. Some of my favorite movies are about star women. It is not that. No. It is the substitution and the like holding it up as like this is why it's good.
Network television is worse at all of this than any of them. If you want actual wokeness, you watch medical dramas on network television right now. It's so like New Amsterdam and all of these other shows. They're so bad.
No, I saw a clip from New Amsterdam get posted on Twitter the other day that was like one white female character and a black male character who had hooked up in the show, and they like work together, and she confronts him. And it's this like weird conflict where he says that he doesn't want to continue their soirees because he wants to get married and settle down with a black woman and have black children. And this white woman is like arguing with him about it. And she's like, wow, like, am I really not good enough for you? Like something like that. And all of these people are commenting about it and saying like, well, it really says this about this social issue. And this dynamic here, it says a lot about power and privilege and blah, 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 blah. Like, we've gotten so lost. This is a TV show that you're supposed to watch while you paint your nails or eat Cheetos or whatever. Like while you pay half attention to it, doing something else.
The funny thing is, the people
it's supposed to be entertaining, not deep.
Yeah. The people watching it aren't thinking it's deep. The writers are thinking it's deep, but they're not even thinking that deeply to write it. No. Like it's just mean. And it's just
racist.
It's
like kind of racist.
So it's like, look, Disney. I don't know how this is all going to affect Disney, but I do feel like they chose China over. Like, we'll see. We'll have to see where this goes with Marvel movies going forward. So, thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.